Ahoy, matey! It's our annual Pride episode, and this year we're talking about the golden age of piracy and what a gay-ass time it was. It's scandalous romance and sexy fashion on the high seas, and we are here for it. And of course, we're going to talk a bit about Our Flag Means Death, but we swear we had this show planned before we even knew about it. And I should probably mention that the Easter egg after the end credits, it's about a particular pirate we intended to talk about in detail, but we went off track and forgot about him. But if you recognize his name, or are curious enough to look him up, you better let us know. And since Pitney is going to be visiting me next month on my birthday, we've been talking about doing a pirate-themed live stream, so keep your eyes peeled for news on our social media. And remember to eat your oranges, 'cause the teeth don't go back in. Pitney and Amelia's Bitchin' Boutique!
We may be awful, but
we're right! So here we are in June 2022, Pride Month. And, you know, even though our show is not about anything specifically in particular, we do like, you know, certain annual episodes that we do every year.
Yes.
You know, we always have a Halloween episode, we always have a Christmas episode, you know, and we always do, you know, a gratitude episode around Thanksgiving, and we always do a Pride episode.
Yes, well, because, you know, we are a boutique, so we have to have specific sales at specific times, right?
You know,
the merchandise may change, but, you know.
Yes.
We are a boutique.
And you know, and even though no matter what we're talking about, our show is gay as hell, pretty much, no matter what our topic, you know, in June, at least one of our shows in June will always be particularly gay.
Oh, well, of course.
Because it's Pride. And, you know, sometimes we'll go, you know, into, you know, we try to do some kind of a history thing, but we try to, you know, we try to do something a little different than what other people will do. You know, like last year we talked about a Quaker preacher called the Public Universal Friend, who was a non-binary person who lived.
Oh, that's right.
In the 1700s.
Yes.
Around the Revolutionary War time, and we talked about a fabulous movie called The Gay Deceivers.
Oh my God, I forgot about that until just literally just now.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Wow.
I may not know my flowers, but I know a bitch when I see one.
I loved that. Yeah, I honestly have not thought about it since.
It was so much better than it should have been. That movie was surprisingly good. It really, really was.
Oh my God. Yes, it was. It really was.
But you know, every time we do an episode like that, where, you know, because we try to plan things kind of ahead of time, you know, because we try to do something special every year. And so, you know, throughout the year, we're trying to, you know, grab onto little things like, oh, we should, you know, like if we come up with some idea for Halloween, like, oh, we got to do that for Halloween. And then we're marking things on the calendar. And not long after last year's Pride, an article kind of landed in front of me, and it wasn't even anything particularly current. It was already like a year or two old, but it happened to cross my path, and I immediately was like, oh, that's it. That's our Pride for 2022. That's it. We're totally doing gay pirates. And who knew? Who knew a year ago that this year gay pirates would be all the rage?
Yes.
Who knew that somehow, while I was reading articles about Bonny and Mary Read and statues being put on a beach in South Devon in England and people being upset about it, because why? Well, partly because the statues were weird and abstract, and why is that statue on my beach? I mean, you know.
Oh, I didn't even see them. Are they hideous? Like, what is it?
It's just well, first of all, they're 8 feet tall.
Okay.
And they're I mean, they're not ugly, but it's kind of hard to be sure that the statue is really of Anne Bonny and Mary Read, because it's clearly two female forms, but they're kind of abstract, and they're just female shaped blobs that are 8 feet tall and standing on the beach, and their hair is blowing in the wind. And it's like they don't really have arms or anything, and it's
like, a little too much artistry to make it really a thing.
It's a little silly. It's a little artsy fartsy for
I hear you. Yes.
For an area that's like a lot of fishermen and stuff.
Yes.
And I'm not entirely sure that I never could find why Devon in particular. I mean, there's lots of places around the UK that have connections to pirates, but I didn't really see that area was connected to those women. Like, I think they were both Irish, so like a statue of them on the beach in Ireland might have made more sense.
Yeah.
And there is a statue of them in the Bahamas, because like in the Caribbean is where like all the pirating happened, you know. So it really, it makes more sense down there. And actually, the statue that's in the Bahamas is kind of badass, or at least as best I can tell. I only ever see pictures of it from one side, and they're standing back to back like they're, knives out and gonna kick some ass, and in fighting stances, like kind of back to back to each other, but you can really only see one of them because they only seem to want to take pictures of it from one side, probably because the one side her shirt is open and you can see a boob. And maybe the other one doesn't have her titty out, so why take a picture of that side? Except that, according to legend, both of them had the tendency, even because they both were disguised themselves as men. They both kind of, lived as men. Like, a lot of people didn't know they were women, but when they would get into fights, they would totally distract the people they were fighting with by whipping a titty out and totally shocking someone and then killing them.
That's so fabulous.
I mean, they were fantastic. They were just bored housewives, basically, who just didn't really want to have the family life, and they just decided, kind of individually, and then they met. They both ended up at different times joining Calico Jack Rackham's crew, and they both ended up fucking him, and then they became a couple themselves.
Well, of course.
And it's hard with pirates. It's hard to know, it's really hard to know how much of stories are true, because so much of it is one pirate talking about another pirate, or, well, I heard they did this, or,
there's so much lore.
Yeah.
That,
if you ever are in a situation where you're, let's say, captured and standing trial and you're telling your own story, how much of what you're telling is going to be bullshit, because you're either lying to get out of something, or you're lying to make yourself sound better than you are.
Yeah.
Or how much of it is someone else telling a story of what, hearsay of what they heard about you. And I mean, there are pirates that are very famous, legendary pirates that might not have actually even existed. Like, there's no evidence that they were actual people that existed. Except, according to pirates, they totally existed. But, like, in the case of these two women, Calico Jack's ship, like, they all got captured. And one thing, as women, English law allowed them to do a thing. They pled the belly, which basically meant, because both of them happened to be pregnant at the time, because they were both fucking Calico Jack as well as each other. And so they were both pregnant, and English law basically meant that they couldn't be executed. You couldn't execute a pregnant woman. Like, you could totally execute a woman,
but not if she was in the family way.
Yes, not if she was knocked up. So they basically would have to sit in jail until they had their babies, and then
get executed.
And then they can execute them.
And then what do they do with the goddamn babies?
Well, it doesn't matter, because they die anyway. But, like, when Calico Jack, legend has it that Anne Bonny was there when Calico Jack and his crewmen were being hanged. According to legend, her last words to him were, "If you had fought like a man, you wouldn't be hanged like a dog." So she totally fucking emasculated him right before he died. And then, she went back to her cell. And Mary Read, the prison records show that she got a terrible fever and she died in prison. So she basically she and her baby Yeah. And then, but apparently there's no record of what happened to Anne Bonny. Like, we knew she went to jail. We knew she pled the belly. And so they weren't going to execute her yet because she was pregnant. And then, so she was sitting in jail, and then after that, there's no, like, the trail goes cold. Like, if she escaped from jail, she probably, because she was so good at disguising herself and living as a man, it's very possible that if she managed to escape from jail, that she just lived as a man and got on someone else's boat and assumed another identity and lived out the rest of her life for a while, however long that was. Yeah. Who knows what happened to the baby, She could have miscarried that baby. She could have, or she could have just dropped dead and they just never wrote it down, for all we know. But,
well, I have a fantasy about that. Because, my friend Keith, who lives in London.
Yeah.
He's from Devon.
Ah, yes.
So clearly, because of, the statues in Devon for no reason.
Right.
Clearly, Keith is a descendant of that baby.
Oh, I'm sure it's very, very possible.
He may not know it, but clearly that's what it is.
Yeah,
and I think that would be very exciting. And I wonder what he would have to say about it. He'd probably just laugh at me and roll his eyes and call me Mary.
Oh my God. Although I did find out, because I went back and looked at, I looked back through those old articles again, and one of them talked about, apparently there was an Audible exclusive podcast, which to me means an audiobook.
Yeah.
Because I looked in when they said Audible exclusive, they fucking meant it, because I looked around and I couldn't find this so-called podcast on any other platform that I looked on. And it was called Hellcats. And apparently it was like a full-on audio drama, and it was a full-on, the whole story, everything all about Anne Bonny and Mary Read.
Ooh, I want to hear it.
And it's like you're gonna make me get an Audible account just to hear that, but I probably will do it. Because it's pirates. And I'm that weirdo.
I have made the mistake, though, of signing up for the free Audible trial to hear one thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then you forget about it, and then they start billing you. And it is really difficult on Amazon to find the way to cancel shit.
Yeah, but come to think of it, we were doing that for my dad, and I bet he's paying for shit.
It's really fucking hard to cancel it, and they do that on purpose, and it pisses me off.
Yeah, we were trying to get my dad into audiobooks there for a while, and I bet he's still paying for an Audible subscription that he doesn't even remember he has.
Oh yeah, because you have to go through 50 screens to cancel it, but 2 to sign up for it. You know,
I mean,
yeah.
he could barely use it anyway. I mean, he can't even. He's got one of those, those devices sitting on the table next to him, and it's like all he can ever do is ask it what the weather is, but it takes forever to get it to work because he just starts going, Alexis, because he doesn't fucking know.
That's fabulous.
Anyway.
That's fabulous.
Anyway. But pirates. Not but pirates, but comma, pirates.
Which, it's kind of synonymous, though,
But pirates. As the fabulous book that we now oh, your corner is so nice and quiet.
Yeah.
That's so funny that, like, I mean, frequently I hear that out my window. It's funny that it's so quiet here today. But, speaking of butt pirates, you and I are now owners of a very scandalously titled book. That the book itself is not nearly as exciting as I would hope. But it's okay.
It's interesting.
It is interesting. Sodomy in the Pirate Tradition. English sea rovers in the 17th century Caribbean. It's very, very academic. But it's not... It seems to be of the opinion that all pirate sex was rapey. That, like, nobody... It seems to... Did you get that feeling that this author seems to be under the impression that pirates are bad, therefore it's all rape?
Yeah, but I thought it was interesting from... I have not read it cover to cover.
Oh, I definitely haven't
read
either.
Snippets.
Yeah.
But I did find it interesting. I read, like, a whole longest section.
Yeah.
About how, the special boys...
Yeah.
Were actually treated really nice, and they were not allowed to be passed around, and they were like one person's lover, basically. They were treated well, and clothed well, and fed well, and they were treated well.
Yeah.
It's interesting, it's not like that's just like, oh, I'm gonna fuck you up the ass and you're gonna scream and then I'm gonna beat you. That's not how it was.
Yeah, I mean there is.
So that was interesting. I mean, I don't know. Granted, like how many of those boys were like, were they gay to begin with? Did they want that? I mean, did they want a dick up their ass or not?
Well, that's
a
that's
valid
one of the
question.
Things that I'm sure that there's some amount of, situational relationships that, like, if I wasn't on this ship... Oh,
absolutely, that were rapey, but I thought it was interesting that there almost seemed to be a tradition of...
hooking up.
This is my boy.
Right.
And no one else is gonna fuck with him, and... it was like they seemed to be nice because they were like raising them in the pirate tradition, you know.
And
they may that may sound rapey and groomy or whatever, and it may have been or may not have been. I don't know, but it was just interesting that it wasn't, you know.
Right. But there is something that a lot of people, I mean, yeah, obviously being a pirate, you're obviously like an outlaw and you're, you know, all of that, yes. And there's all kinds of connection to all sorts of unpleasant business. And,
oh, yeah,
you know,
well, of course. It's like being in the mafia, right?
Yes.
It's like being in the mafia.
But there is something to be said about that this is a group of people who something causes people to want to walk away from the legitimate life they have on land and say, you know what, that's a better life for me. And if you don't fit in the world on land, in the life that, you know, say your family has set out for you,
yeah,
that's another option for you. And not every single person who got on a pirate ship was kidnapped and forced to be on a pirate ship.
Yeah.
So as long as there are people on there who are choosing to be there, there's all kinds of reasons why they could be there. So it's not that, you know, it's not that big a leap to assume that some of the reasons why some men would choose to be there,
because they were queer.
Yeah.
And they could not deal with the filth of the real world. Yes,
and
absolutely.
A life of living only with men, away from, you know, a life that, and in a world where there is superstition of you can't have a woman on the ship because it's bad luck because women have crystals in their bodies that attract demons, you know, and shit like that.
Well, yeah, that's kind of crazy,
you
but
know,
yeah.
I mean, if you want to live a life where you don't run the risk of possibly being forced to have a girlfriend, then maybe pirating is a good life for you.
Oh yeah, and there's the glamour of crime.
Sure.
There's the glamour of stealing from the rich. There's the glamour of killing stupid motherfuckers that have no right to live. I mean, it's fabulous. It sounds great to me.
And frankly, you know, you can argue that your life expectancy is not that great, but you know what? In the 1700s, how great was your life expectancy to begin with?
Right.
I mean, one of my favorite things that I learned from, you know, being really into Hamilton is that Alexander Hamilton's wife lived to be like 98 years old. Like, she lived so long that
That's fucking amazing. Oh my God.
She lived to see the presidency of Abraham Lincoln. That is fucking insane.
Yeah.
And
that's unheard of. Yeah.
So, and where, you know, she basically, everyone she ever knew died. You know, like, I mean, the fact that...
Because, God, back then, we would probably be dead of old age.
Oh, yeah. I mean, granted, you know it's like, when you know, that her husband died at age 50 in a duel, it's like, yeah, but really, age 50 was still pretty old. You know, it seems young to us, but to them, that's pretty good.
He'd probably be dead by age 55 of old age anyway back then.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like, for, you know, it's like, we're considered, you know, middle age, but it's like, yeah, that's assuming we live to 100. How many people actually live to 100? When you're talking about the 1700s, how many people live to 60?
Yeah,
you know? I mean, most, you know, these are people who'd have, you know, 15 kids, hoping that 6 or 7 of them survived. You know, life expectancy was not that great. So, a pirate life is, oh yeah, sure, there's danger, but you could die from anything in those days. So you might as well have an exciting life on a ship.
Oh, it sounds exciting to me. You know, pillage, drunkenness.
No bathing? You would love that.
No bathing, nothing but rampant gay sex. I mean, it sounds fabulous to me.
Oh, yeah.
Sign me up.
Did you get to the stuff in the book? And of course, this book didn't describe it in as much detail as I thought it was going to. and I may not be pronouncing it correctly, but did you read about Mateolage? M-A-T-E...
No.
M-A-T-E-O-L-A-G-E?
No.
Mateolage, which is where the word matey comes from. Mateolage was a thing that it happened among British sailors as well, but it definitely happened in the pirate world, where it was basically a same-sex marriage. And of course, people like B.R. Berg here, who wrote this book, who thinks everything is rape and nothing is a real relationship. He, people like him think it's all just economic reasons and making sure that the stuff you have goes, doesn't just go nowhere, like it goes to someone. Like, I just want to make sure that my money goes to someone I care about or whatever. Yeah. But really, there were a lot of pirates who were essentially married to each other.
Yeah.
And they would, not just sail together, but that all of their belongings and stuff, like, they would be joined legally together, and they would
sail together.
Yes, they would sail forever in the eyes of the law, which is fucking fantastic.
But that's, typical academic bullshit, though, that he wants to pick apart something based on the assumed morals of now.
Well, but that's very common with historians, because, you see a painting of, 2 men or 2 women canoodling, or you read letters between 2 people that are, like, openly telling each other how much they love each other in very flowery language, and a historian just goes, well, people talked different back then. These are just 2 bros. Just they're just 2 buddies. That's just how buddies talked. And it's like, no, that's not. How could you possibly read these words and assume that it's anything but a romantic relationship? Buddies don't talk like that,
No.
There's a lot, especially like poets and stuff. There's so many poets that were so fucking queer, but it's like people just they can't see it. It's like, well, she was married. It's like, yeah, we know she was married, but she's writing all these letters to that woman.
Well, yeah, probably because she had to be,
right? But meanwhile, she's writing all these letters to a woman, and read those fucking letters. Have you read the letters?
And the horrible thing, she probably spent her whole life, God bless her, closing her eyes and thinking of England.
Oh God, so vile.
Because
she just had to just tolerate a penis for like a few minutes, and then just get back to her chores.
Oh,
so gross. So vile.
Bad breath, unwashed, uncut, stinky dick. Oh, no, girl, no.
Which is weird, because it's totally what you would want on a pirate ship, but...
I love the smell of movies in the morning.
There's no feeling in podcasts. There's no feeling in podcasts.
This podcast will be quite operational when your friends subscribe.
Feels. Real feels.
Not the feels. Not the feels.
Out of all the podcasts I've encountered, Real Feels was the most human.
Hey, it's Drew.
And Nathan.
And Jack.
Hey guys, and we're the Real Feels Podcast. We come to you every other Wednesday with a brand new movie of a different genre every single time. So make sure to catch us on iTunes, Podbean, and any other podcatcher out there. You're the realest.
And the feelest.
Come to yeah.
But speaking of super queer pirate ships, so this sort of idea apparently caught the attention of some writers and show folk, and an incredibly funny and adorable series was made for HBO Max called Our Flag Means Death. And I do want to talk about, just because we're talking about history stuff, I want to talk about the historical figures who are actually in this show. Because I was so excited, like, as I'm watching it, because I'm the kind of nerd who, like, everybody's heard of Blackbeard, but I'm the kind of nerd who'd heard of Stede Bonnet.
Yeah.
Because I'm that dork, you know? And, you know, we're watching the show. I'm watching it, and my husband and I are sitting on the couch, and at one point I excitedly turn to him and say, you know, Stede Bonnet was a real guy. You know, Stede Bonnet was a real pirate. You know, and he's like, oh, honey, you know.
Oh my God, I can hear him. I can totally hear him.
It's just, oh, honey, you're so cute. You're so cute.
That is every text I get from your husband.
Is, oh, goodness.
It's like, oh, Pitney.
And, oh, goodness.
And I could just hear it, because you know I just text him weird random bullshit.
Of course you do.
And you know, he's just like, oh, Pitney. And I can hear it. I can hear it. Anyway, that made me happy when you said that. Yeah.
Oh,
anyway.
yes. But yeah, so we have Stede Bonnet, we have Blackbeard. The character Izzy Hands on the show is based on Israel Hands, who was a 16-year-old first mate, I believe, on Blackbeard's ship for a long time.
Sign me up.
Played by the incredibly hot Con O'Neill.
Sign me up.
Super hot Con O'Neill. Love him. Calico Jack of Anne, Bonny, and Mary Read fame shows up for a minute. The character of Spanish Jackie, who is... Now, there isn't someone named Spanish Jackie, but there is a character... In the show, Spanish Jackie runs the Republic of Pirates on the island of Tortuga, I believe. And there was a Republic of... I believe it was called a Republic of Pirates. It may have been called a Republic of something else. But a woman named Jacquot Delahoy. But despite many legends and this person being like this great Haitian, historical figure, there's a lot of people who are like, yeah, I don't think she actually existed. Like, I think it's entirely made up bullshit. Like, I don't think this person ever actually existed at all, despite all the stories that exist. But Spanish Jackie is totally based on her.
Yeah. Oh, but it's just maybe that name for some reason makes me think of the worst person alive. Because if you pronounce the name, he'd be like, you mean Jack de la Hotte? That totally crossed my mind, but aren't I right? Aren't I right?
Oh God. He would be, oh my God. I want to tap his phone because I'm sure he's watched this show, and I'm sure that he pronounces every character's name wrong, and I'm sure, oh man. Anyway.
And just to say,
yes,
too, I am so happy that you say Caribbean the right way.
Oh, instead of Caribbean?
Because there's nothing that pisses me off more than when people say Caribbean. It's Caribbean.
Actually, I'm not entirely... Because I think the only reason why I say Caribbean is because people say it that way when they say Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, it's Caribbean, just like theater is the theater. It's not theater, it's the theater.
Theater? Are you from fucking Arkansas? Theater?
The movie theater is the theater.
Oh,
just like the Caribbean is the Caribbean, and I'm so happy that you said Caribbean.
I'm never gonna say theater, though, not unless I'm making fun of somebody. I do come from hillbillies, but I am not gonna say theater.
Oh my God, my entire family says theater.
Never. I will never. But I do want to say something about the real Stede Bonnet and the real Blackbeard. Because this has to have inspired this show. So, the real Stede Bonnet was a guy who was the son of a sugar plantation owner in Barbados. His parents died when he was very young, but his family was incredibly wealthy. So he was a little rich boy who was, he married some woman and they had some kids, and he one day decided he just really didn't want to live that life anymore. And because he was so damn rich, he just decided he wanted to be a pirate, even though he didn't know anything about sailing or really anything. He didn't know anything about how to do anything except be rich. So he, for real, commissioned the building of a boat. Like there was this ship, and he had it customized for himself at great personal expense. And he took all of his expensive clothing and his library and all of his personal belongings, and he left his family.
Fabulous.
And he hired a crew, and he paid them a wage, which is not how pirating works. But he just sort of this seems like it'll work. I'll just hire some people who know how to do stuff.
This fabulous. A life of
it sounds great. And
a life of cock, cum, and luxury on the high seas.
And he just
I'll take it.
He sort of went around pretending to be a pirate. And
fabulous.
He, and every so often in his pretending to be a pirate, he would sort of, run up against people who were real pirates and get himself into some trouble. And he would, get injured and get some people killed and whatever. And he was not very good at it, because he wasn't a pirate. He didn't know what he was doing. And at one point, he ended up kind of running into Blackbeard. And for some reason, and no one really knows why, Blackbeard ends up going oh, I think I want to sail with this guy. And for no reason that makes sense to historians, because historians don't believe, there's no logical reason, except, his ship seems nice. And most the way a pirate gets a ship is by stealing it. And usually the ships they steal, they like to steal slave ships, because slave ships were built to go fast, and they have so much cargo room, and and so, a lot of times, it was grody business, but Stede's ship was lovely and clean, because it was new, and it smelled nice, and it had barely seen any battle, and it was nice, and there was food, and it was comfortable. And so Blackbeard just kind of, for no reason that history could understand, just I think I'm gonna sail with this guy for a while.
It was clearly love, cock, and ass.
Abso-fucking-lutely. There's no way any logical person can look into this story and not go, oh my god, they were totally fucking. There's no way that you can assume anything else, because nothing else makes sense. Because there's no advantage to bringing Stede Bonnet into your circle. Even, because if you wanted to just take his boat, you could just kill him and take his boat.
No, it was clearly love.
He must have been cute,
It was clearly love, yes.
Because if all he wanted was his stuff, then you kill the guy and take his stuff.
Yeah.
And they ended up sailing together for a long time. And when Blackbeard was eventually captured, they were both basically captured together. And part of the reason why the historical record has all this information about Blackbeard is because Stede Bonnet had lots to say. When he was on trial.
Sure he did, yes.
The Year of the Saints. Saint Sebastian. You know you've seen him. Tied to a tree with arrows sticking out of his body, looking so pained but so pretty. Whether it was in the REM video for Losing My Religion, or in Carrie's mom's prayer closet. No, that wasn't a crucified Jesus with glowing eyes that was freaking you out. It was a tacky Saint Sebastian doing that. Or even that 1968 Esquire cover photo of Muhammad Ali done up like him. Saint Sebastian is one hell of an eye-catching icon, and gay men in particular have claimed him as one of their own because, well, look at him. He's got to be family, right? All gorgeous and young, his lithe body riddled with Mauritanian arrows that didn't even kill him. I mean, what's he the patron saint of, anyway? Men who can take a whole lot of pricks? Here's the weird thing about Sebastian. Nothing in his story would indicate a connection with the queer community. He was a burly, middle-aged Praetorian guard who snuck around secretly converting Roman military dudes to Christianity. When he was caught, they did the thing with the arrows, and that didn't kill him. Saint Irene nursed him back to health, and as soon as he was strong enough to stand up, he cussed out the emperor, who had him clubbed to death and his body dumped in the sewer. The sewer, y'all! And he ended up the patron saint of soldiers and athletes and stuff, and he wouldn't be anyone worth mentioning except that for some reason, artists for hundreds of years all seemed to agree they were going to depict him all young and hairless and super twinky. Maybe it's because he was a saint they could paint and sculpt mostly naked? And given the opportunity to depict a bit of agony in the ecstasy, they all just went for it. And before we knew it, that dreamy Jesus on the crucifix has some competition for my attention during a long-ass sermon on Sunday. Kind of like how in the pre-code Hollywood days, directors would make Roman and biblical epics just for the excuse to show a boob. There are always artists trying to sex up the joint, even when that joint is a church. Gotta get butts in the seats, right? I mean, you look at Saint Sebastian and tell me he's not a long-suffering closet queen, putting all that effort into his appearance. And for what? For us to not appreciate that dewy skin? Those bee-stung pre-Raphaelite lips? That calf definition? Dude never ever skipped leg day, I'm telling you. Appreciating his fine-ass self is the least we can do. But the thing about you and me is that we're very piratey people.
Yes.
I mean, you wouldn't know it to look at us, but really, we're people who, if someone said, oh my God, 30 minutes, be on the corner dressed as pirates, go. we would be on the corner dressed as pirates in 30 minutes.
Oh, absolutely. I got the shirts, the pants, the hats, the boots.
We have options. We don't even have like one outfit. We don't go into our closet and have one pirate outfit options. We have like, oh, let's see, do I go with this look or do I go with that look? We could go many different ways.
Oh, yeah.
Because and I don't think we did it on purpose. I think it's just the pirate life keeps coming back for us. No matter what we do, pirates keep coming back around.
Yeah, and you know what is so funny? There is a mod in Skyrim.
It's always Skyrim with you.
That you can go, and they have pirate clothes and armor that for some weird reason, like, has armor ratings, but it's pirate clothes.
How sexy.
So, of course, I had to pay for that to get it.
Because it's so
my
sexy.
character can be dressed like a pirate. It's just part of me.
The pirate aesthetic is fucking hot. And we love it. And we fucking love it. And, like, one thing that definitely is, well, I mean, it definitely is part of the reason why we have the outfits, is because of this weird anachronistic way that, for some reason, no matter what Ren fair you go to, whether it's an actual Renaissance fair, or it's the King Arthur fair, or it's the Scarborough fair, or it's Sherwood Forest fair, or whatever fucking fair you go to, there's always fucking belly dancers and there's always fucking pirates.
Oh, yeah.
Even though, as we've already mentioned in the episode, the golden age of piracy was like the late 1600s to maybe about 1800, maybe. The Renaissance was like the 1400s. It's like, these things don't really overlap by all that much. The Middle Ages, definitely not the age of piracy. Not that there weren't pirates. I mean, because pirates are basically thieves at sea. I mean, they exist now. But what we talk about when we talk about pirates is a very specific thing. And that really doesn't make any sense. But there's always fucking pirates at every Ren fair. And that's why we have the clothes. Really.
Oh, yeah. And it's a romanticized thing, yes.
I mean, you could go to the goddamn Dickens Christmas fair, and there would probably be a goddamn pirate.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah.
I mean, Tiny fucking Tim would be hanging out with Long John Silver for no goddamn reason.
Yeah, because, I mean, that's always been my aesthetic when I've gone to fairs.
Is the
pirate.
basic. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Because it's hot. It is sexy as fuck. I look so good in pirate clothes. And really, like, even what we all picture as pirates, that's part of what kind of gets messed up in our heads. I mean, I think part of the reason why people can imagine a pirate in any setting is because, like, the first time they made a movie of, like, Treasure Island, and they cast a guy from, like, Bristol or Cornwall or wherever the fuck he was. So he had a very particular accent, and he was all yar, yar. And so everyone just decided, oh, that's what all pirates sound like. And it's like, okay, all pirates didn't come from the same place. Like we talked about, like, Anne Bonny and them. They came from fucking Ireland. People came from all over the place. So they didn't all have the same accent. They didn't all look the same and talk the same. But for whatever reason, that is one of the beautiful things about Our Flag Means Death. I mean, the main characters are both from New Zealand, and they talk like they're from New Zealand, because fuck it. I mean, we've got a character that wears Crocs for no fucking reason, just because, why not? I mean, it's not like they zoom in and go, hey, look, Crocs. He's wearing Crocs. It's just that it's really clear that the guy's wearing Crocs. Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't
I have
matter.
never owned Crocs. But I want to, because they're so offensive to so many people, and they're so the anti-everything. I want them now.
there are so many variations on Crocs now that, like, I think there's some Crocs out there that I might actually wear. Like, if you want, like, waterproof shoes, I mean, that's really what you're,
Yeah.
I mean, because, like, when you would go to festivals and hang out in the mud for a month, I mean, Crocs are pretty much the perfect shoe to have.
I know, but it's just like, oh my god, I just want to, every day in public, I want to wear Crocs with white socks.
Well, you can wear your Crocs, and I can wear my 5-finger toe shoes, because those really offend a lot of people. And I wear them in part, one, because they're very comfortable, and two, because it really upsets people for some reason.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
I mean, the more people feel they have to comment on my footwear, the more I'm going to wear them.
Because I love sandals with socks and shorts because it just irritates people. And it makes me happy.
Oh, God. And especially the older we get, we just so don't give a fuck. And so, oh, God, I'm so going to dress like ways that upset people just for the purpose of upsetting them. Because fuck you people. Because really, fuck you people. I might as well just carry a sign that says fuck you people everywhere I go. Because that's pretty much my attitude.
Well, I've always been like that. You
Yeah.
know?
But much more so now.
But I just remember, like, my little girl's hot pants with...
Oh, sure. And that mesh shirt you used to wear a lot?
No, remember, I wore those hot pants with a little patent belt, and God only knows what shoes I was wearing. I honestly don't remember.
Probably Doc
Martens. But I remember I wore that with a wasp t-shirt.
Sometimes.
That was tied up to make it, like, above the belly button, so it was a half top.
Sure.
That was so, like, subversive and made no fucking sense to anybody but me. And I loved it.
Oh, yes. It was a hell of a look.
So it was like, why are you wearing, like, tacky drag, but a fucking wasp t-shirt?
It's like, why not?
I loved it.
For the same reason that we would dress like pirates to go to the Renaissance Fair. Because why the fuck not?
Exactly.
And also... remember that one year, whatever year that was, when on my birthday, I made you and a bunch of other friends dress up as pirates to go... It was the year the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie came out.
Oh, yes.
And because it's like, back in the day, back in the good old days, people dressed up to go to movies all the time. But, it's been a long time since people really did that. But I made a group of people get dressed up as pirates because it was my goddamn birthday. And just because we were adults doesn't mean we can't dress up as pirates just to go to the movies. And we were having sword fights in the movie theater, and people thought it was great. We were far more entertaining than that movie was.
That's right. In fact, I have a couple pictures from that.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. It was a great day.
Yeah.
And see, that was one of several times that I've dressed my husband up as a pirate. He doesn't have his own pirate outfits, but I can put him in pirate clothes.
And that is the only costuming that your husband will wear.
No, he's been in drag and stuff before. He's worn other things.
But it's hard to get him. I mean, I'm going to say, I've said it before, I'll say it again. My big fantasy to go to a con, and I want him to live for those 4 days is Feely and Al.
Oh, I know. Well, first you got to get him to a con. He went to one con once, and that's, He would, there's so many things. Like, well, I got him to dress as the dude from Big Lebowski one Halloween. I got him to dress as Seymour from Little Shop of Horrors. But see, that was when we were early in our dating, and he would do everything I said.
Yeah.
It was very easy to get him to dress up back then because he did everything I told him because I was the keeper of the pussy.
Yeah.
and he did what he was told. As he should. Anyway. Okay, back to pirates, though. But I do want to say that the world has gone piratey. Partly because of our flag means death. But I do want to say one thing, and it has to do with Target. The world in general has gone very, very piratey in very subtle ways, and I don't know if a lot of the stores that are selling out of shit are aware of why they're selling out of shit. There are these fabulous, like, oversized coffee cups, like these latte cups that are kind of a peachy, salmony pink that have like flowers and birds on them and fruit at Target, and Target cannot keep them in stock because those of us who are big fans of Our Flag Means Death, and I will get to Our Flag Means Death, I swear to God, I will get into the meat of that in a second. We have all decided that that cup is ours. I can't get one. I have friends who have them, but I have not gotten one yet.
I don't know that if I've even ever noticed those.
They probably sold out within seconds of hitting the shelf.
Yeah, I bet we shipped them all out before they even made it to the floor.
Yeah, it's impossible. It's impossible to find them. The pattern on them is similar to some fabric in a robe that is worn by characters on the show.
Wow.
That
is hardcore fandom. That's fabulous.
Also, there are, it's summertime, so things that are kind of citrusy tend to come into there's like Old Navy, all these stores all over the place, like kind of that kind of camp shirt, like cotton print fabrics with oranges on them. If there's an orange on it, it will not stay in stock, because if there's an orange on it, fans of Our Flag Means Death are buying all of them.
Really?
People are buying the men's camp shirt from Old Navy and turning them into cute little dresses. You cannot get something with an orange on it right now because we've bought them all.
Wow.
Because oranges, very significant. Well, oranges, scurvy. So if there's a show about pirates, oranges are going to become a major plot point. And they do, because the Swede's teeth start falling out at one point. And we have to go find oranges.
the cure for scurvy. Offer her an orange.
Offer her an orange. Exactly.
Only hardcore fans of the show will know what that means.
Exactly.
But it's fabulous. And
if you're listening to this right now, scroll back through our old episodes and look for one called Offer Her an Orange. And then listen to it and you'll be like, I don't get it. Although I have to say, for a split second there, right before you said that, I thought you were going to say that the cure for scurvy was sucking dick. Just for a split second, I thought that's what you were going to say.
Well, that's the cure for everything.
I'm sure there's vitamins in that too. I'm sure there's some trace amounts of vitamin C in there. Anyway. Let's talk about this fabulousness that is Our Flag Means Death.
Okay.
As we were talking about earlier, the story of Stede Bonnet and why Blackbeard suddenly was sailing with him, and if historians would just accept the fact that sometimes men like each other. And we came to the only logical conclusion that obviously Stede was cute and Blackbeard wanted him and they were fucking and whatever, that's why they were hanging out. Clearly this writer named David Jenkins, sometime in the last few years, came across this story and came to the exact same conclusion that we did, because it is the only logical conclusion. And so he created this fabulous idea for a show called Our Flag Means Death. Now, I could go into like there's all kinds of shit I could talk about this show. Other shows will talk about the story and the characters and everything else. I'm not necessarily going to run down the plot and all of that shit, because you can get that anywhere. I have my own my own way, I'm going to talk about it. Because you don't come to this show to get the same shit you're going to get on every other show. So, but basically, what I will say about Our Flag Means Death, apart from the fact that, oh my god, if you haven't watched it yet, go watch it. And it's on HBOMax. It's 10 episodes. You can watch it in under 6 hours, about 5.5 hours tops. It is extremely funny, but it will also hurt your heart. It will destroy your soul. Because you will fall so in love with these characters and you will get so emotionally invested. And then the end of season 1, it sort of leaves you hanging in a way that just makes, well, we all spent a few weeks there wanting to die because we had not yet heard that there was going to be a season 2. We have now been told that yes, there is a season 2.
Okay.
They waited until the first day of June to let us know. All the people on the show were holding their breath and not able to say anything until the official announcement came out, and it was very exciting.
Oh, good. Well, I know you're excited, so that's
I'm terribly excited. And I will just because it's me and because it's our show and because people who listen to us will understand why I say this. It's like, yes, big corporations capitalizing on Pride and making money off of Pride and whatever. Yes, that's obnoxious. But the fact that there were fans of this show who love this show who could not allow themselves to be happy that they finally got the news they wanted because the news came on June 1st.
Oh.
Because all they could say is, well, obviously HBO is being evil and capitalist and blah, blah. It's like, can't you just be happy for 5 minutes?
Oh,
for
God.
fuck's sake. Can you
and what was the logic behind that outrage? They're waiting for Gay Pride Week or month
that they could have told us a week earlier, but they chose to wait for Pride Month, and that means they're evil. It's like,
to me, that's good sense. I think that's kind of cool.
Exactly.
Actually.
To me, it makes it more of a celebration.
Yeah, I think that's cool.
And it's more of a gift for us. And also, I mean, granted, I was joining in quite a bit with the, hey, HBO, please renew this show. We really want you to renew this show. But I will also say that the people who got outraged about the timing and, well, you should have told me yesterday instead of today because fuck you. How about you're a fucking child? How about you're a fucking insolent child if you think that you have to get everything on your schedule? And if you think about it, if this was a normal TV show that came out and you got 1 episode a week like a normal TV show, and really it was only a matter of weeks. And I know that in online world everything feels like decades when really it was 4 days. But how about everybody, stop acting like a fucking toddler who isn't getting your way all the time. It was very hard for me to not scream at some of the fans who were being insolent about that. It's like, just be fucking happy that you got your way. And you fucking knew they were going to renew the show. It's the biggest thing HBO has had since Game of Thrones. You fucking knew they were going to do it. The problem is Taika Waititi's involved and he's really fucking busy. That he's like one of the busiest people in show business.
I think it's cool that they waited until June to purposely do it with Gay Pride. I think
to make it that much bigger of an announcement
because it's acknowledging.
It's tying it in with what the show truly is.
It's an acknowledgement that this is not a part of the insipid heterosexual agenda.
Right.
It's something else.
And there were also people who they got pissed off that when the show was originally put on HBO Max, it wasn't put on HBO Max with an enormous, hey everybody, gay pirates. It wasn't put out there with a big fanfare. And it's like, well, maybe because they didn't want to telegraph the plot line. Maybe some of us got to experience it like one episode at a time and not know what was coming. Because if you had told, like, granted, I told you what the show was about because you like things being spoiled. But when I watched it, I had no idea. All I knew was I had friends who said, you must watch this show.
Yeah.
And so I watched it knowing I was going to love it, but I didn't know why I was going to love it. And I thought, like many, many viewers did, especially viewers of our age group, I thought that I was getting queer subtext. Now, granted, there were a lot of other characters that things were more overt.
Yeah.
But I thought when it came to Stede Bonnet and Blackbeard, I thought I was getting subtext. Mm-hmm. Because that's what I'm used to. Because those of us who came up on Xena and shit like that.
Oh, I know I was going to say, like, back in the Xena days. Oh,
yes. Yeah. And, you know, it wasn't even presented. The show wasn't even presented initially as like a romantic comedy. The show was, I mean, really, when it starts off, it's almost like it's a workplace comedy because you're on a pirate ship, but it basically is just a bunch of people who all work together and the pirate ship is their office, sort of. Yeah. And it's just a bunch of weirdos who aren't really very good at their job, and they all work together, and they're all kind of like, I think our boss is a dipshit. You know, it's in fact, in some ways, when I went back and thought about it later, there's a lot of similarities, like just on a very surface level, to like The Office. Like, you know, they all mean well and they're all trying, but they're just not very good at their jobs. And there's even kind of a Jim and Pam on this show, although it's really more of a Jim and Jim. But really, it's just sort of a very basic, you know, extremely smartly written and very funny. And there's a lot of historical accuracy, but also extremely inaccurate at the same time, which is why it's funny. And it just kind of, before you know it, like, you get sucked into just this silly little pirate show, and then eventually you start going, wait, Blackbeard, like, is that just how Blackbeard's face looks all the time, or is he totally making goo-goo eyes at Stede all the time? Like, is he?
Because that's fabulous.
Taika Waititi he's so pretty, and someone described him as like a Disney prince. Like, there's something about his eyes that he makes literal heart eyes when he looks at people sometimes. And it's like, you can see when he's looking at someone and he loves them, you can see it in his eyes. And it's like, when you know that and you're looking at him, it's like, oh my God, he loves him. And you're thinking, well, maybe it's just my imagination, and maybe it's not real, and I'm sure I'm just reading that into that. Because people like us, who are not used to seeing people our own age being depicted as being normal people falling in love in, you know, same-sex relationships, we don't expect that, you know? Because that shit just doesn't happen for us. Because if there are same-sex couples and things, they're always 15 years old.
Oh, yeah.
It's always either some twink and some old guy, or it's some junior high kids having their first crush, or it's some kids coming out story, or it's an AIDS drama from like the 80s or 90s. You know, we don't get normal romance stories very often.
Oh, I know what I'm going to tell you. And we could go on about this, but we're not. But I am so sick of the goddamn coming out stories.
Yeah, it's like, if we had representation of all sorts of stories, you can have all the coming out stories you want as long as it's equally balanced with all the other kinds of stories. But
yeah, I'm so sick of that, and I'm so sick of that. What was that movie that won all those awards? It was like some teenager fell in love with some stupid 55-year-old fart on a farm or something, and it won all these awards.
Oh, God. I don't know.
And I think it was this past year, and I was just like, I didn't even watch it, because I was just like, that would never in a million years happen.
There's been so many movies, there's been so many queer movies in like the last like 7 or 8 years that I haven't even seen because I look at them and go, oh, another 15-year-old?
Yeah, but this movie, it won awards.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean,
but
because
there was also like a scandal about it because of the age difference, and my difference being a gay man of 54.
Right.
I was like, why aren't they making this stupid shit? It's sensitive, and it's loving, and it makes people cry. But it's basically a story of a dirty old man falling in love with a teenager and having sex with him.
Yeah, and even though it's like, it's very common for like a young guy to have his first sexual experience to be with someone who's older, because that's very common. But these stories are never a kid gets laid for the first time. It's always some huge romance thing, which only just like romanticizes weird pedophilia shit. And
yeah, and
it's
I'm
like,
sorry, does that shit happen in real life outside of money and drugs being involved? No, it does not.
Yeah, the sugar daddy shit is literally a financial relationship, and it's not. Yeah, it's like, no.
Yes,
for the same reason that if it was a
teenager with a 50-year-old, and they're all in love. It's money
for the
and
same
drugs.
reason that if it was a teenage girl and a 50-year-old dude, it's like, if that's creepy, then it's creepy if it's a guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was actually kind of offended by that movie.
Yeah, well,
it was sensitive, it was dramatic, it was understanding, but it was also like, yeah, this would never happen.
Yeah, there's so many of those movies that I don't even know which one is which, because they're all just blend together as, oh, it's all those movies I didn't see because I'm tired of looking at teenagers. It's like it's all very sweet. It's all very sweet, but I can't watch more gay teenager movies. I can't. Yeah. Those movies aren't made for me. It's fine. Let them be made for teenagers, but those movies are not made for me, and that's fine.
Yeah, but it's funny. I just remember when I was 20, when I was living with Trisha von Liechtenstein.
Yes.
I had met this guy named Jerry. And oh my God, he was the finest motherfucker I'd ever seen. I mean, he was just like, I can't even believe it. And I remember we went out on a date and he came, over to the house to pick me up.
Yeah.
And I remember my roommate at the time, straight woman, was like, oh my God, he's so hot. He's so fine. Oh my God. And I remember talking to her and I was like, oh my God, I know he's so cute and he's so fine, but I'm so freaked out because he's so old. I don't know that I could be with anybody that old.
Oh no, I'm afraid to ask.
He was 25.
I was so afraid that he was going to be like 25.
He was 25.
He was an old geezer of 25.
And I was 20. And that is how people of that age group think.
Right.
So this whole weird fantasy of, oh, the 19-year-old twink falling in love with a 50-year-old man. Oh, honey.
Yeah.
Unless you're, squirting coke up his ass. I'm giving him lots of money. That ain't gonna happen, bitch. Shut the fuck up. So this movie, well, it was beautiful. I thought it was gross.
Oh, yeah. And anyway. in my case, like, when I was, like, in my mid-20s and I had this brief period of foolishly thinking that if I dated a guy who was about 40, that would be a great idea because he would be so mature. And that would be good for me. Not realizing that a guy who's about in his early 40s who wants to date a girl who's 25, that guy is a creep. And that guy can't date women his own age because he's so stunted.
Yeah, because if he ain't partnered by that age, he's obviously an asshole or damaged, and all he cares about is the winky-dink if he's dating people that are 20.
Oh, yeah. In fact, the one in particular, the magician, just briefly, he ended up,
him.
That motherfucker cheated on me because the next woman who hit on him, he didn't know how to say no to a woman hitting on him. Because I hit on him, and he came home with me. And then the next time a woman hit on him, he went home with her. Because
and
even though
his name, Shazam.
We'll just call him Shazam. We'll just call him that. Because his name was that bad. His name was that stupid. Because he was a magician and had that kind of a name. But, yeah, because he had a hot girl in her mid-20s. He had all this going on. And he went off and fucked someone else, and then he was so ashamed of it that he just stopped returning my calls. And then when I found out what was going on, and I was like, well, you need to come over and pick up your shit. And I was like standing on my front lawn with the last of his crap, and he like just stood there looking at me and like realizing, oh, I made a terrible, terrible mistake. And I'm like, yeah, just take your shit and
now,
go.
Was it him? Was he Mr. Morphine Suppository?
Yes! No, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Morphine Suppository was the one who came after. He was, no, Shazam was the one who did so much coke that we were having sex one time and he just couldn't come, and so I was like, okay, I'm done, get away from me. And I wasn't really done in the sense of being done. But I was like, get off me. And then some hours later, I awakened to him fucking me. Like, he started fucking me while I was asleep.
Okay, yeah.
So, I had 2 boyfriends in a row that were serious druggies. But that was also during a period where I was doing all kinds of shit. But yeah. He had his own drug
I
issues.
still fantasize.
But Morphine Suppository was the next one.
If I could play guitar, I mean more than 4 chords.
Right.
And I was young, I would love to start a punk band called Morphine Suppository.
Well, you really don't need to know more than 4 chords to have a punk band. As the Sex Pistols taught us.
I know, but who am I going to do it with? Me and the dog,
As the Sex Pistols taught us. Oh, by the way, your beloved ugly piece of shit Elon Musk thinks the Sex Pistols were a real band. Did you know that? He thinks Johnny Rotten was like a real punk and not basically a boy band created by Malcolm McLaren. Anyway, because he retweeted something that Johnny Rotten said. Johnny Rotten is a right-wing freak. And he thought he was being really edgelord by saying, well, Johnny Rotten says blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, Johnny Rotten is not a real punk. And,
no. It's like, no, in fact, I am watching that thing on Hulu right now, Pistol.
Oh, I bet it's horrifying.
That is the documentary about the Sex Pistols, and it's fabulous. I'm really enjoying it.
Is it a documentary? Or is it a series?
It's a docudrama based on the guitarist book. Right.
Okay.
And I mean, I listened to that album to death when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And it's
think
still
we all
good.
Did. I think we all
did.
It's
terrible, but it's good. But the Sex Pistols, I mean, for whatever weird reason, they did start the whole punk movement. At least here. Not there.
They ripped off the bands that were actually doing it, and then...
But here. So you gotta give them credit for that, but the Sex Pistols...
But that's only because they had a manager who could get their shit sold. The Sex Pistols are the very first New Kids on the Block. Well, someone else made a comparison that the Sex Pistols have more in common with the Monkees than they have with any other punk bands, and I'm like, yeah, that's not wrong. Although I fucking love the Monkees, but
you know, their songs are shit, and their songs. In fact, I listened to their album yesterday.
Oh, really?
For the brief amount of time that I was actually awake. Based on, you know, watching the first half of this documentary, and oh no, it's fabulous, and they're great.
Yeah.
But, Johnny Lydon, a.k.a. Johnny Rotten, he's like, oh, so highfalutin now, talking about what an artist he was. And it was like, no, dude, you were just a fucking junky piece of shit.
Yeah. With
some ugly hair.
That got hired by a producer.
So shut the fuck up. You're not an artist.
Sid Vicious literally got hired for what he looked like. He did not know how to play any instruments. He got hired to stand there. It's like,
God
they
damn
were
it,
nothing.
Those last couple concerts with him with no shirt on and covered in blood. God damn it, he was hot.
Well, yeah. I mean, but that's because they were a boy band, so they were hired. He was hired to be pretty. He was hired to be pretty.
There is nothing hotter than a half-naked 20-year-old heroin addict. I'm sorry. It's hot.
You know what? Iggy Pop still totally can get it. Iggy Pop is still so fucking fuckable. It's frightening how fuckable that man is. There's something about that heroin addict look that will always work for me. But I have more to say about the show.
I know, I'm sorry.
I know. But it wouldn't be our show if we didn't go off on tangents. What I want to talk about is, this is a thing that other shows would not talk about. Part of why this show is so magnificent, and I already talked about the fact that the show wasn't... I did start to touch on the fact that it wasn't queer baiting, it wasn't subtext. Although, those of us who didn't know what was coming were watching and watching and watching. Like I said, there's 10 episodes in the season. There's things that happen by, like, say, episode 5 that, we're like... oh, my heart is pounding. Oh my God, that's so romantic. But obviously it's only subtext. Obviously, we know what we're seeing, but obviously they're not really going there. Yeah. But then, once you know where you're going and you go back and watch it again, it's like, oh my God, they're so fucking in love from the second they lay eyes on each other. It's not even funny. They're so in love. It's so fucking... And of course, both of these actors, straight. And these are two actors who have been friends for a really long time, and now they're kissing each other on TV, and it's so fucking hot. It's so two pretty actors kissing. I'm here for it. But
I bet is leading to undisclosed trailer action.
Your chair is making so much noise.
I know.
Your chair is making so much noise. Oh my God. It's so delish. It's so utterly delish. Like, I cannot even handle how pretty these men are. But by the time it is so clear, by the time they have this wonderful moment, and I will describe this one scene, for the people who've seen it, so they can get to relive it. For the people who haven't, okay, fine, I'm spoiling it, but whatever. So when Ed, which is Blackbeard's real name, Edward Teach, born on a beach. When Ed and Stede are sitting on a beach and talking, and they've been sort of captured's the wrong word, but I'll say captured so I don't have to explain. by the English. And Stede's like, how are you taking this so well? And he's like, well, I don't know. I guess it's about time. It feels good to kind of just I can just sort of take a load off and just sort of be Edward. And I just feel like I just want to do what makes Ed happy. And Stede says, and what makes Ed happy? And he's just kind of like, talking about, how these last few weeks, have just been the most fun I've had, in ages, maybe ever. So I reckon what makes Ed happy is, and he's like stammering and being really shy and sweet. And he's like, what makes Ed happy is you. And Stede, like his eyes just light up, and he starts, and he just kind of, and he starts to talk, and then Ed just leans in and just kisses him.
Aww.
And my husband, I want to make it clear to our listeners. I've said this before, but my husband is a guy who can watch Schindler's List and not cry. My husband can watch the opening 10 minutes of Up and not be emotionally affected by it. My husband is made of stone. My husband is completely dead inside. And yet, when Ed leaned in and kissed Stede, his hand went to his heart, and he gasped, and he went, oh. My husband, my 6'4" mountain of a husband, my big burly mountain of a husband went, oh.
That's fabulous.
And it was so sweet. And it was like the cutest. And then, of course, when they finally disengage from that wonderful kiss, and Stede opens his eyes and just whispers quietly, you make Stede happy.
See, that's fabulous.
And it's like, this is the kind of shit that we want. And it's like so fucking romantic and so beautiful. And it's like, these are complex characters who they both had shitty childhoods, and they both ended up on, a life of piracy through different ways of getting there, because their lives were shit for different reasons, and they met each other through weird circumstances, and somehow they found each other, and now they're happy, but shit isn't going to be easy because they're both really messed up people, and it doesn't quite work out that easily, and that's why the season ends with, no, what is happening? Oh no, I'm so upset, and the whole audience is crying, and we're all upset. But it's so brilliant, and like having it all be in like the world, having this kind of story set in the world of pirates.
It's fabulous, yeah.
It's brilliant because there's so much you can do in the world of pirates, because the world of pirates, as we talked about before, it is so fucking gay. Pirates is like automatically gay. It's so fucking gay. And one thing that I'm going to bring up that literally just occurred to me earlier today, because of a conversation that was happening in a Facebook group among our Flag Means Death fans. We were talking about, it started out as a conversation about the title of the show, Our Flag Means Death. Some of it, well, one thing that not a lot of people know is that what is generally the skull and crossbones, what is generally considered to be like a pirate flag, that image is actually a memento mori. And so pirates use that as a way of signifying, if you approach us, you're gonna die. Like, we're,
Oh, okay.
It's like,
that makes sense. Yeah.
But one of the things that was pointed out by one of the other fans was that the way pirates would lure other ships to them was you would fly a neutral flag, or you would fly a flag that would like trick another ship to thinking you were someone else. And because flags had meanings, like flags would say who your alliances were, and flags would say what kind of a ship you were. And you could lure another ship closer, and then you could quickly change your flag and be like, fuck you, we're pirates. We're going to attack you now just by changing your flag.
Yeah.
And then the other ship could change their flag to either surrender or not. Yeah. And, you know, and like, there's a lot of flags tell stories before, without, you know.
Now, like, is there a flag saying, come on over and I'll suck your cocks?
Unfortunately, no. But that actually brings up the thing that I realized today, because this one fan was talking about how it occurred to her that using flags as a way of signaling was possibly something that you could tie into the queer community, because flying a rainbow flag, for example, is a way to tell the public what your business is, or that it's safe to come in.
And there was also all that nonsense of the different handkerchiefs in the pockets.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up.
Yeah.
Because I brought up to her that in that moment I had just realized that a ship putting up a flag to send a message was exactly what hanky codes were.
Oh, absolutely.
And all of a sudden, this little group of fans was going, oh, shit. Oh, my God. Pirate flags are totally hanky codes.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
because
how did they not get that before? Yes, totally. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, shit, goddamn. Because, like, in the series, Blackbeard even talks about, because part of, like, Blackbeard is kind of going through a bit of a midlife crisis. Like, he had started to get bored with being Blackbeard, because they see my flag and they immediately surrender. Like, it's not even fun anymore.
Yeah.
I put up my flag and they're like, oh, I surrender. And it's like, all right, I guess we're just going to take your shit then. Like, there's nothing, like, I don't get to do anything. Like, he's so well known as Blackbeard that he doesn't even have to be Blackbeard anymore. And it got boring. And so that was part of why when he first met Stede, he was like, oh my God, you're doing piracy in a whole new way. And this is fucking, he's like, you're a fucking lunatic and I like it, you know? And so that, you know, that was part of why they bonded, apart from the fact that he was just staring at him with heart eyes for like 2 days. Aww. And, you know, thinking he was so cute, because he totally is. But like, it's like the fact that gay, at the very least gay men, I don't know if there's an equivalent for lesbians. I may have to look into that. But if there's people listening right now who are too young to know what hanky code is, fucking look that up. It is fascinating.
Yeah, because, you see that with the flags, that's totally.
Because basically what hanky code meant is, back when you could not openly tell the world you were gay.
Yeah, and it was always like, I'm gay, I'm a top, I'm a bottom, I want to suck dick, I want my dick sucked. It was all about sex. Yeah,
it was basically signaling to the world that you were down for sex with men and exactly what kind of sex you were down for. Yeah. And it was all about the color of a piece of fabric and what pocket in your pants you had that fabric in. And it was very subtle, and the straight world was completely unaware of it, but gay people knew what it meant. And it was this extremely subtle way of signaling to each other. And it's like, and that's why so many people have no idea it even existed. But if you Google that shit, there is so much information, and you're like, I had no idea. But it is so similar to the way sailors and pirates used flags to send messages to each other, and oh my God, it's really cool. Pirates, totally gay. There's your little nugget of schooling that you got from us today, because I guarantee you no one listening has ever thought of that before.
Yes, and it's fabulous.
And it's fabulous. So everybody, I know that I didn't talk too much about the show, but I'm promising you, if you are listening to this show, you will love Our Flag Means Death. It is on HBOMax, but you can absolutely pirate that shit. And if you are not in the United States and the pirating is the only way you can get it, if you go to Taika Waititi's Twitter feed and go and scroll back a ways, he was totally retweeting instructions for how to fucking steal this show.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, shouldn't be putting that on the internet, you know.
I'm not gonna retweet it, but Taika Waititi did it, and and he is one of the producers of the show, and he is on the show, and he directed an episode of the show, and HBO didn't stop him from sharing that information. So HBO, yeah. and I will say that HBO, back in the day when Game of Thrones was big, and it was before HBO Max, there was HBO Go, and before HBO Go, there was HBO Now. And when HBO Now was new, Andy Samberg hosted the Emmys, and he gave out his login and password for HBO Now on the Emmys. And
I remember that. Yeah.
And thousands and thousands of people used Andy Samberg's information to log into HBO Now to watch Game of Thrones, and HBO was totally cool with it for a really long time. So HBO I don't think they mind that much, as long as you watch the show, and as long as, when this thing comes out available for purchase, I'm fucking buying it. I will take my money. They can have all my money.
Yeah.
Because they have given me a show. I have not been this excited about a TV show. There's a lot of TV shows that I love. I loved Loki. I love Stranger Things. I love Walking Dead. I love a lot of things. This show has my heart in a way that I can hardly think of any other show that I love with all my heart as much, and that means as much to me as this show. And I love every single actor on it. I love every character. I fucking love it. And there's so much out there. If you want to know more about the people on the show, the characters, whatever, you can get that from other shows. From us, you get the gay shit. So, yes. Go watch it. Happy Pride. Do what you gotta do to make the world better, god damn it. And next month is my birthday, so maybe we'll talk about something totally silly for my birthday.
Love you all, thank you.
Woo, gay pirates, yay. Woo. Thanks for listening. If you enjoy our show, please take a moment to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher.
If you send us a screenshot of your review, we'll send you a Bitchin' Boutique sticker.
Everyone loves stickers! Please subscribe or add us to your favorites wherever you get your podcasts.
Subscribers get new episodes first and are also more attractive.
Drop us a line anytime at PitneyAndAmelia@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Fabulous.
Oh, in fact, God. I may get my eyebrows shaved off, and with little tattoos where the eyebrows should be Stagnetti's boy.
Oh my God! There's gotta be a word that's similar to Stagnetti. Something that sounds like Stagnetti that means boy. Like stalemate popped into my head, but that's not the right word.
Studnutto.
That's it.
Studnutto.
Stagnetti's Studnutto.
Lord have mercy. Anyway.
Anyway, that might have to be our Easter egg. Stagnetty, Stagnetty.
I want to think maybe like a Stagnetty song could be maybe to Winchester Cathedral. Fuck me raw, Stagnetty. Do it to me
Italian.
over the bow.
Oh, God.
Give it to me,
what
Stagnetty.
What about Moon over Naples? Can we go do Moon over Naples?
Oh.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh.
I was thinking something Italian.
Mouth on
though.
Stagnetty. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. It does need to be Wayne. It really does need to be a Wayne Newton song. It really is way more appropriate for it to be something Wayne. Maybe Engelbert Humperdinck, but really Wayne is better.
Stagnetty, don't you fuck so fast. Oh, Stagnetty, slow down some, 'cause you're making me come. Stagnetty, don't you fuck so fast. Nobody understands this other than two of us.
Oh, no. My face hurts. My face hurts. Ah! All right. Okay. Serious. This is serious pirate talk. Damn it. All right. All right.